Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the CRA board meeting minutes of May the 21st, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. On our agenda this afternoon, are there any changes, Mr. Harrison?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. On our consent agenda this afternoon, there are no items being pulled, so items 1 and 2 will be eligible for discussion during audience to be heard. All right, that takes us up to audience to be heard. Do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard, Kervin?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have 8 speakers.
Very good.
All right, first speaker is Ed Phillips, followed by Roger Phillips, followed by Wayne Green.
Just name and address for the record in 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Ed Phillips, candidate for District 4 Commissioner. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. Mayor, I'm going to be a little short here today. I just have a request of this commission, the city staff, and that is as I proceed to see that you are beginning to formulate directions and activities for the Innovation District to come, I would ask in behalf of a number of folks that when you consider the number of consultants as we begin to move forward, that some of those folks include African Americans. I think would be very inappropriate to proceed in developing an area which is largely has been considered African American, and we do not include in those consultants and or developers African Americans. And so the request is just one to be considerate of the people in the neighborhood and to ensure that they feel that there's a spirit of inclusion. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Next speaker.
Roger Phillips.
Roger Phillips, 2620 Northwest 10th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm going to be short also. I just want to thank everybody on the dais for an excellent job that they're doing for each district. I want to thank Beverly Perkins for all she's done since she's been here on the dais. I want to thank Barry Moss. I want to thank Allison. I want to thank Rex Harden. I want to thank Andrea McGee. I want to thank Rhonda Seegers. And I want to thank Greg Harris for doing an excellent job. I want to thank Claudia McKinnon. I want to thank Kevin Afra, and I want to thank BSO for doing an excellent job in the city of Pompano Beach, Florida. Thank you very much, commissioners. Try to work together, stay together for the betterment of keeping Pompano Beach strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. Wayne Vereen, 2420 Northwest 7th Street, Pompano Beach, Florida. First of all, I'd like to give honor to God, who's head of my life. I'd like to give honor to this diocese. And I just want to say you all are doing a wonderful job. And I just want to say, Beverly Perkins, keep up the good work. You've been doing a good job. I want to say to Barry, keep up the good work, representing our district. But I just want to say, on the behalf of the city, I know the city is growing. Like I keep saying, it's going to change, and I know change is good, Mayor. You're doing a good job as well. Oh, my God. But anyway, all I want to say is that on the behalf of this city, you know, it's going to grow, and I know things is going to change around this community, but all I've been saying is let our people have a seat at the table, because we deserve it, because this is our district, and you know, we want our city to be #1, but at the same time, we don't want to be left out. Give us a seat at the table. We want to be part of it. Let black developers come in and make this city beautiful. We want a seat at the table. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Good job, Beverly. Keep up the good work.
Very good. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Zyron Peterson, followed by Serica Peterson, followed by Jocelyn Jackson.
Just name and address for the record.
I yield my time to Sarah Peterson.
Okay.
Sarah Peterson, 4354 Northwest 9th Avenue. Guns and words, the tale of two deaths. We live in a time where drive-by shootings are a thing in this world. You could be randomly supporting a local business and catch a stray bullet that can cause you your life. That is a reality for some of us. Last week, I caught a stray bullet while supporting a local business here in Pompano. Oddly enough, that bullet didn't come from a gun. It came from the mouth of a commissioner. In a personal attack on Kim Breesmeister and RMA, Commissioner Perkins, you called my integrity into question by insinuating that Kim asked me to come speak on her behalf. Let me be clear, let me be crystal clear. Kim has never asked me to speak in favor or against anything at this podium or anywhere for that matter. However, you have, Commissioner, and I gladly did, but not without my own conviction, words, and research. You see, I have no loyalty to anyone on this dais. I agree at times with some of you, and I disagree at times with all of you. You all are shielded by with immunity of your words, no matter how detrimental they may be to the constituents you speak of, and you do it from a position of power. And anyone that wields that power as frivolously as you do is a threat to progress, because you don't care who you hurt in the midst of attacking one person. Drive-by shooters have that same mindset. The first Black woman to be elected commissioner in Pompano, and the only Black commissioner sitting on this dais, is a powerful position to hold in the Black community, and undoubtedly a heavy burden to carry. I take no pleasure in speaking on this because I in no way or fashion support violence in the community or for this dais. But time and time again, I've seen you all violently attack each other with your words. The truth is, I can't vote for anyone on this dais. My single vote will not help you or hurt you in any of your elections. Another truth is, I have amassed a platform of over 200,000 followers and growing. I'm a subject matter expert on all things cultural arts and entertainment. I am an internationally known poet, and I have mastered the art of communication. I'm a wordsmith. I'm also a two-time published author, a playwright, a photographer. I can twist and unlock words in ways others can't. And with this gift and power that I have to influence, I choose to lead with love because I have children who will inherit the legacy I am building. It is important for me to address this in this setting because this is where it happened. And public insults with private apologies aren't sincere and lack accountability. It's not a mistake because it's not the first, second, or third time it has happened. It's a pattern. And when you do something long enough, it becomes your character. And that's what is flawed with you as a leader. I invited my two daughters, two young Black women who are entrepreneurs, 17 and 24, who have watched me fight and toil in this very city for us to just survive. We're no longer surviving, we are thriving together. And it is my responsibility to stand up to anybody who calls into my integrity that could affect our livelihood. So I'm going to ask all of you to be very careful with your words when you're talking with your constituents, because the community hears you. And what they hear is, we can't trust this person because they're speaking for this person or they're in support of this person. But we come up here and speak in support of you too when you all say things that we support. I'm speaking on this, and it's the last time I'm gonna say this. Everything I do in this community is to better myself, my family, and my community, in that order. It is not my job to put the community first, it is yours. And when you don't, and you base it on your personal experiences and your feelings, it gets in the way of the business. So I don't take any pride in doing this and saying this, but I do want to stand up for myself and let my children see that this is not acceptable for leaders in this country, in this world, in this city, when you attack people who stand up here in support of anything. I want to make sure you all know that I'm definitely going to take my 3 minutes up here and speak whenever I can, but I have a platform and I could take hours to speak on YouTube.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Jocelyn Jackson. Good afternoon to the commission, to the dais, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of my family and also myself from the insult from you, Commissioner Perkins, from the last meeting. One thing for certain and two things for sure. Anybody who knows me know I have my own mind, and you're not gonna tell me what to do. And I wanna clear the air. Kim Briesmeister have never, ever asked me to come forth with anything. My discussions with anyone on this dais or anyone outside this dais is always reflect back what we can do for the city, what we can do for the community. It's never nothing about for me personally. It's always for the community. And I would not tolerate to be disrespected when it comes to my morals and my integrity. And it's not that I don't live here. It doesn't matter. My family roots are here. So I'm standing in the gap for them. Tuesdays I'm here. You can count the hands of the people that's here on the CRA meetings and the city commission meetings. I'm supposed to be next door. I'm gonna run over there soon, but you can count on one hand, who's here standing to support the district. You can count on one hand, but they will show up once you feed them the wrong information, and then they gone. But one person you can count on one hand, it's a few of us, that shows up every other Tuesday. We not missing a beat. I'm a part of the movement. He's gone, Wayne is gone. All of us are a part of the movement. Nobody is excluded. We together as one. So we need to stop portraying like it's, oh, this is Northwest area. Yeah, that is Northwest area. Yeah, we got Southwest area. Yeah, everybody got we separated, the city's separated, but it's still one city. Northwest area, yes, it's been an urban area for years, but it belongs to the city. It's the city. So we need to work together collectively and don't talk against it. I'm talking to everybody. Don't talk against it like it's only for us.
Very good.
It's for the community. That's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Next speaker.
Mayor, I thought it was 8, it was only 6.
6 speakers, very
So
good,
that
okay.
concludes audience to be heard.
That concludes audience to be heard. I just want to make an announcement about audience to be heard, and this is not against anyone or in particular, but it's something that that I have allowed, which I don't think we should. In the future, we're not, people don't give their time to somebody else. If people sign up to speak, they can speak, but they speak for their allotted time. People, because it dawned on me, someone could show up here with 10 people, and they could try and monopolize our entire audience to be heard time. So it's happened before at the city level, and I'll make the same announcement at the city level. But we're not going to have people signing up and then assigning their time to somebody else in the future. Very good. Thank you. That takes us on to consent agenda. Item 1 and 2. Can I get a motion approving items 1 and 2?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. That takes us up to our regular agenda. Item 3 is a presentation.
Presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2025 budgets and financing and implementation plans for the East and Northwest CRA districts.
Very good. Ms. Vasquez.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Board members. Kimberly Vasquez, Senior Project Manager for the CRA. The item before you today is your proposed FY 2025 budget, and included as part of your backup was the 5-year financing and implementation plan for years 2025 through 2029. I'll begin with the East. Your taxable value did increase based off the estimated values of July at 8%, with your major growths being in residential and commercial. Your total sources or your revenues is estimated at $37.7 million, and its tax increment at $6.1 million, which is the city, the county, and the North Broward Hospital District. We have estimated building rent revenues of $128,000. Those are properties that we lease and then turn around and sublease to other tenants. We have investment earnings of $75,000, and you do see a tax increment bond of $22.3 million, and we do anticipate a carry-forward fund balance of approximately $9 million, and that's unencumbered, unexpended funds. The uses or the expenditures, we have operations at $900,000. That includes us as staff. There's a city cost allocations and general operating expenses. You see debt service at $2.5 million. That's your 2013 A and B bond series, as well as the proposed debt service for your 2025 bond and issuance cost. Infrastructure and streetscapes is really your McNabb House Restoration and Botanical Garden project. You'll see this is where the bulk of your funding is going. You see your revenue sources of tax increment revenue of about $900,000. You see the tax increment bond of $18.1 million, and then the carry forward fund balance of $7.9 for a total of $27 million for that project. We have redevelopment initiatives, which is really your facades, your strategic investment program grants, and then dissemination of information, marketing of our projects that we have going on in the CRA. Redevelopment ambassadors is your FPI security. There are roving guys that go around there, check with the businesses, make sure that they're stabilizing the neighborhood. And property acquisition of tax increment bond of $4 million. And then tax increment revenue of $1.3 million, and carry forward fund balance of $1.1 million for total expenditures of $6.4 million. Consultants and professional services, tax increment revenue of $350,000, and expenditures for those professional services of $350,000. That concludes the East proposed budget. I'll move forward to the Northwest.
Very good.
The estimated July value was $1.9 million for the Northwest, and we saw an overall growth value of 13%. To give the total snapshot, you see total sources of revenues of $99 million, and you see tax increment of $8 million, and that's city TIF only. Our interlocal project funding, as per the interlocal agreement from 2018 with the taxing authorities, of $1.5 million. We have miscellaneous, which includes your micro enterprise loan repayments, rental revenues, and investment earnings of $240,000, and a FY 2025 bond series of $64.5 million. And we anticipate a carry forward fund balance of $24.8 million. Our uses, our expenditures, our operations at $1.2 million. That also includes us, again, it's a split with the East of us as staff, our cost allocations for the city, and general operating expenses. You see debt service here of $4.3 million. That includes your 790-800 Hammondville loan that we took out to acquire property. That will be paid off in full this fiscal year. our FY 2022 debt service, as well as proposed 2025 debt service and issuance cost of $4.3 million. And redevelopment projects is where most of the funding is going at $93.4 million. As per your downtown master plan, this is where a lot of this funding source is going to. You see your revenues coming in at the top as $10 million in carry forward of unencumbered, unexpended funds. We have our taxing authority interlocal funding that's carry forward, as well as the 2025 allocation of $10.7 million. And then you see where the bond series fund is going at $63.8 million for a total of $84.5 million. You see the expenditures is really $60 million to downtown district infrastructure, the development fee of $2.3 million, as well as downtown land acquisition at $21.4 million. Infrastructure and streetscapes, you see your revenue coming in at $1.5 million, which is interest earnings as well as carry forward fund balance, and that's going to Sonata infrastructure improvements through the development agreement that was approved of 1.5. This is the 300 allocation in FY 2025. We have 11 Northeast 1st Street, or the old washouts, $700,000. And the Dixie Highway Atlantic Boulevard infrastructure, you see $540,000. That's unexpended funds as well as interest earnings for that project. Vertical project development, you see your revenue sources as tax increment revenue and building rentals. You see expenditures of tenant improvements of $120,000, our CRA building maintenance of $250,000, and then rentals and leases of $273,000. Those are leases that we hold on properties within the downtown or within the Northwest District. Redevelopment initiatives, our tax increment revenue, and then that enterprise loan program repayment, $575,000, and our expenditures are for your incentive programs, $400,000, as well as dissemination of information at $175,000. And area stabilization, you see your tax increment revenue of $479,000. We have our redevelopment ambassadors, our FPI security, our roving security guards. Additional security and safety at $100,000. And then we keep an amount for emergency rehab of housing stock if we have to utilize that funding, if OHUI's funding runs out, or their source of funding, and we've had to utilize it one time. Property maintenance and property acquisition, this is outside of the downtown core area. We have tax increment revenue of $1.1 million, and then carry forward fund balance of $4 million, for a total of $5.2 million for property acquisition, as well as property maintenance or special services, which is really what we pay to the city for maintenance of our vacant lots, etc. Consultants and professional services is tax increment revenue of $465,000, and you see the expenditures for demolition services as well as our consulting fees. That concludes my presentation. This is coming to you in a draft format today. The final budget will come amended on the September 17th CRA board meeting, and as per state statute, we have to have our budget approved by September 30th of every year. Take any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and open it up to the public at this point in time first. Any public input on this presentation? Please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Fournier?
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Kim. I know I've said this before. My concerns about the debt on our city, and in particular the CRAs, are growing with each presentation and each set of numbers I look at. So this plan has us issuing, call it a $22.5 or $23 million bond in the East CRA. Is that right?
Correct.
And $65 million-ish, $64.5 million in the Northwest CRA.
Correct.
So we're talking about $90 million of debt onto these entities. And when you look at, especially in the East CRA, for me, the idea that we're going to not sunset it, but we will lose a significant chunk of the TIF revenue in 2031 when, so 2032?
2031.
2031, when the county and hospital district funding goes away. When you start to look at how this balances out, the East CRA, I actually don't see, based on what you sent me, how it's even going to cover the debt expenses when you layer on top of the overhead that the CRA also has. So I continue to tell everyone and believe that this is a very expensive tool for financing the McNabb House project, because you are not just paying the debt service, you are paying to keep a CRA existing, which is consultants, operating expenses, personnel. So we are going to be down to about 4 million in revenue and about, I don't know, 4 million or more in expenses and debt service in 2032. And I don't think this is a good idea. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Going back to the Northwest, where you're talking about the consultants, I think it says 400, oh, wait, I'm on the wrong page.
It's on the screen now.
Oh, she put it back up. Okay, great. Can you break down what you mean by consultants? How are they paid? Who's being paid this consulting fees?
Yes, this is, you want to know who's getting paid exactly as of right now?
Yes, now and possibly future.
Okay, well, you have Redevelopment Management Associates. We also have a public relations person of K-Rents. We also have a property manager that we utilize that funding for. We also have a financial consultant that we utilize to help prepare with the budgets, et cetera. So those are the main four right now. Mm-hmm. This, with the downtown coming, as well as any other activities, we would utilize it for architectural services if needed, or any other type, maybe an economic financial analysis, or any other type of professional services that we could not possibly do in-house.
Okay, but these consultants are included in the new downtown? These consultants?
Yes.
They are?
Yes.
Because I know Mr. Phillips just spoke about trying to get some consultants from the Northwest. Could that possibly be included in this?
Yes.
It could be?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Questions, concerns? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. We'll see you again with the finals. Appreciate that. That takes us up to item number 4, is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a contract for sale and purchase between the CRA and Wells Fargo Bank for the property at 20 Southeast 23rd Avenue, Pompano Beach, in the amount of $2,075,000, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Ms. Lamassier.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, CRA Board members. Cassandra Lemasurier, Real Property Manager for the CRA. Staff is seeking approval from the CRA Board for the purchase of property that's located at 20 Southeast 23rd Avenue. This property will be used in support of the McNabb House Restaurant and Botanical Gardens project. The property is a 403 square foot building, and it's on a 23,657 square foot land area. You all would be most familiar with it as the former Wells Fargo drive-through. It ceased operations. Wells Fargo approached the CRA interested in selling it. On the aerial, you can see it outlined in yellow. Directly west of that, you see McNabb Park in blue that the CRA leases, and then the other properties that the CRA owns are shown in red. This property is zone transit-oriented. It's within the East Overlay District. The CRA purchase price of $2,075,000 is the median fair market value. It is based on an independent appraisal of the property that the CRA obtained in April of 2024, valuing it at $1.85 million, and an independent appraisal that was provided by the owner that valued the property at $2.3 million as of March 2023. The contract was presented to the East CRA Advisory Committee on July 10th, and they recommended approval of the contract with a unanimous vote of 7-0 with David Mingus absent. Staff does recommend approval of the contract for the purchase of this property, and I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the plan for the property in the near term, given that it's going to take a while to get the McNabb House construction underway? Because this is one of those hotspots in the east for homelessness.
The first course of action, once we have ownership, would be to demolish the structures that are on the property, because we know that's a line of sight issue where the homeless have tended to want to congregate because it shields them from view. So that would be the first step the CRA would take. Second, we could use this as interim parking. We've used our CRA properties in coordination with the city to offer parking for contractors and employees when there's construction going on in the area. And then when we actually start on our project, we'll very much need it in support of developing the McNabb House Restaurant and Botanical Garden.
Okay, and it does strike me that we're perhaps overpaying slightly, given that the recent appraisal that we received was lower. How strategic is this parcel, in your view, to the McNabb Botanical Garden project? Is this inevitably going to be parking for the event space? What is over there?
That's what we would anticipate. There's also a vacant lot north of this that might present itself as an acquisition opportunity, so we would also seek to be able to enlarge that area. As far as values, if you're looking at, for example, the Bayside Investors property that the CRA just closed on the purchase, that actually came in at a valuation of $100 per square foot for the land area. This appraisal was a little bit lower than that, at $80 a square foot by our appraiser. I think the other thing that you see is the Summit appraisal that Wells Fargo had done in 2023 had a $95 per square foot valuation, but they also took into account, were it to be developed as multifamily, that it would have a $46,000 per unit value for each residential unit. Our appraiser just looked at it as a land value, so I think that's where you see a little bit of the difference in the numbers as well. But it is in line. Our appraiser did use comps that were local Pompano Beach comps to be able to come up with that valuation.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you very much, Cassie.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins.
How many acres is this to purchase this property?
So it's 23,650 square feet, so you're a little over that half an acre mark.
Okay, and you just want to put parking there?
Yes.
Okay, would it be one story, two, or just?
No, this would just be surface parking in the interim. It's not large enough to support structured parking, like a parking garage at this point.
Well, I can see if you want to put a building on this property, but just to pay this kind of money for just parking is a lot, just for a parking lot, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, no, I know we've been after this property for some time now, so I just want to thank you for seeing it through and bringing it to us.
Yeah, we've been after Wells Fargo for quite a few years.
Very long time.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee,
Yes.
Chair Harton.
Yes. Item 5 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a contract for sale and purchase between the CRA and David Newman Estate for the property at 801 Northwest 18th Avenue, Pompano Beach, in the amount of $100,000, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms.
Good afternoon again. Cassandra Lemessurier, Real Property Manager for the CRA. Staff is seeking approval from the CRA Board for the purchase of the property that is identified as 801 Northwest 18th Avenue. The property is a 4,011 square foot vacant lot. You can see it outlined in blue on the aerial. And it is what is landlocking the CRA's lot that is directly west of it. It's zoned RM12. And it's also adjacent to the parcel that's shown in yellow that was recently purchased by the city's Office of Housing and Urban Improvement. The whole idea is that we can unify this lot with ours to create a buildable lot in that area to support additional residential development. The Northwest CRA Advisory Committee reviewed the request at their July 8th meeting and recommended approval with a vote of 5-1 with Velma Grant absent. Staff does recommend approval of the contract for the purchase of this property, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions? Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, what is it that you plan to actually put on this property?
We think it would be appropriate, even though it has RM12 zoning, you could still do single-family homes. And so the way those two lots are set up, once we unify those, it creates a buildable lot. And then you have our lot to the south that also would create a buildable lot. The majority of the properties on the east side of Northwest 18th Avenue are single-family homes, so we think that would be appropriate for the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, so the answer is you want to put a single-family home there? One single-family home?
When we unify the parcel that's outlined in blue that we'd like to purchase with our half lot that's basically to the west, then you would have around an 8,000 square foot lot that would be appropriate for one single family home on that.
Okay, and whoever builds on this home, will you donate the land to them?
It depends on what the product is. There's an opportunity for us to also be able to partner with the city's Office of Housing and Urban Improvement with their property to the north. I think we would want to continue to do land assembly because there might be an opportunity for an actual subdivision similar to the Hunter's Manor subdivision that's directly west of this.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee,
Yes.
Chair Harden.
Yes, item 6 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a service contract between the CRA and Redevelopment Management Associates, LLC, for professional consulting services, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and second for discussion. Good afternoon, Mr. Harrison.
Good afternoon, Mayor. So in this item, in your backup, you have a memo from Mr. Tran and myself. You also have a memo from the RMA principals, and a contract with Exhibit A, which itemizes approximately 40-some services that RMA would be providing to the CRA for this contract. So be glad to answer any questions. We feel like this is a very important contract and would recommend approval by the CRA Board of Directors.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concerns? Commissioner Perkins?
Yes, Mayor, so this is the second contract from Pompano. RMA received a contract, I guess, last week from the city, and now they're back to do another contract with the CRA. So, as I stated before, I just feel as though it's somewhat double dipping because they are also dealing with the developers and making funds or getting monies from those funds, from those developers as well. So I could not, you going to correct me?
I am.
Go ahead.
The developers are not paying RMA.
Okay, well, on this particular contract, I couldn't support this because we've already given them a contract with the city portion of it, and this is the RMA portion of it, the same
It is not the
RMA.
same.
It's the same
It is not
RMA.
the same.
Pardon me?
This contract is for CRA items
Right.
for services.
Right, and the last
what this
contract was
contract
for
is
city, right?
Correct.
Yes.
The other
I understand.
contract was for city-specific
Right, so
related
the
items.
contract is for different
That's why there's two
services.
different contracts, to
Right.
separate it and
Yes.
keep it distinctly different.
Okay, so tell me if I'm correct. The contract last week for RMA was for the city of Pompano Beach. This contract today before us is for RMA.
It's
For
for
the
the
CRA.
the CRA.
CRA, yes.
CRA.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Two distinct, different contracts.
But the same company.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, that's all I need.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, because technically, we can't utilize city contracts for CRA purposes, and we can't mix the two
Has to be done
funds.
separately,
Yeah,
right.
it has to be, you have to contract separately.
Separately,
You, I mean, with good reason. We even have to contract, allocate separately for the Northwest CRA versus the CRA, let alone the CRA versus the city. So
Right,
that's
right.
the reason for the additional contract.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier?
Thank you, Mayor. So we heard last week that the city manager, and I know most of the commission believes that RMA is responsible for most of the growth in our city and everything, all the progress. I do see it a little differently. I completely agree. They are smart, capable people who have done tremendous work in our city, but I also think they are behind some of the poor decisions that we are dug in on in our city. For example, taking a lane out of Atlantic Boulevard. And that is, anyone else I talk to kind of doesn't even want to make eye contact when we talk about it, but they are bullish that that is the right answer for our city, and the people I represent don't see it that way. I also have concerns about the way we moved the McNabb House and where it went in terms of conflicts of interest, and that it's been sitting there for 4 years without a plan. So I guess, to me, the CRA role is different than our role as a city when we sit here, because the CRA, and I've said this before, effectively collects revenue off a big area of land, in particular the Northwest CRA collects revenue off of 3,084 acres of land in our city, and then decides where to invest that money. And we invest it in a very small area of the CRA. So when you are responsible for making investment decisions and picking the winners and the losers and what areas are being invested in and what areas are not, you must have the utmost independence. And I think that gets to Commissioner Perkins and what she said about independence from developers. So I have some questions about the terms, but one of the things that I don't see in here is a clause that says that they cannot perform consulting work as an independent business like they are for any of the third parties that we are working with in the downtown. And I would expect to see that in here. So are the principals of RMA willing to agree to a clause that says they cannot collect consulting revenue from these other third parties that we are working with for the McNabb House and the downtown?
First of all, as their contractor with this contract, we would never, ever allow it. Secondly, they would never, ever even approach, because that is a serious conflict of interest for their profession. They are highly professional people and would not ever touch that the way that you are describing.
So I'd like to see it in the contract then, because there have been things in the past that have caused concern. So I agree with you. I think they would never consider doing that, but I think it should be in here because this downtown is a huge project, and I think we should be explicit about our expectations on that.
Commissioner, if I may, this service contract, the form, is the form that we use through the city attorney's office. It mirrors the city attorney contract. We typically do not have a conflicts provision in our service agreement. And as Mr. Harrison said, you know, RMA has been working with the city since 2009. There has never been an instance where there's been a conflict. In addition to that, what we have in this contract, as we do in the city contract, is that if there is any irregularity, for example, if any of you learned that in fact there was some kind of an actual conflict and you brought it to Mr. Harrison's or Mr. Tran's attention, the contract provides that we have remedies for that. We can terminate. We can terminate for convenience. We can terminate for cause. So, and that's how this legal agreement has been structured, so that we have the flexibility to say to any consultant, we're not happy with fill in the blank, and the consultant then has to choose between continuing to do fill in the blank or stopping fill in the blank.
So the termination clause, I'm glad you brought that up because that was another one of my questions. So it's 60 days plus 180 days. So is that standard that we actually have a 240 day where they're being paid, where we still have to make payments for 240 days after we've terminated?
That's a term that was negotiated with RMA, and Mr. Harrison can explain it better than I can because it's a business term, and I'll let him do that.
It's certainly a business term, and it seems quite generous to me. So it was one of my other questions. Is it standard to have 240 days of payment if we exercise a termination
clause? It wouldn't
clause?
automatically be 240 days. It would depend on when the contract was terminated. For example, if the contract was terminated at the end between, within 6 months of the end of a year, it would just be for the number of days remaining for the end of the year,
For the initial term, it says, but,
for any of the renewal terms as well.
okay. So is this standard in our contracts then, 180 days plus 60 days?
No, it's a business term
Understood.
that was negotiated. We have
Okay.
different terms in different contracts. Some have a severance, some don't. But this particular business term reflects the amount of staffing, ramping up, and participation that RMA has in the various matters that are in the scope.
Okay. And my last question is, based on the audience that we heard today and what we've heard over and over about our commitment to diversity, I know this wasn't bid out. I know. So is there anything in here or any way to ensure that going forward, either RMA, includes some minority contractors or that we include minority contractors? Because I don't see any effort on our behalf to do that.
The procurement process is run by the city through our own procurement department. So they do not hire consultants for us for these projects, or builders for that matter. So we have committed and will continue to commit to increase the amount of minority participation wherever possible.
Good to hear that.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other thing here is this effectively a 5-year contract? Because it's 3 years, and then it can be renewed without this board's consent. It's renewed by the CRA at that point, the
3-year
director?
contract with a 2-year
5.
renewal.
Okay, thank you.
Further commissioners, I've got Commissioner Perkins, then I'll have Commissioner Moss.
My question is, will we be asking by any chance RMA to do any work outside of this contract? Is it possible that we could ask them to do something that's not listed in the contract that is required or requested of them?
Well, I mean, it's possible, but if we did, we would have to have some sort of separate arrangement with them, which would have to go through legal muster with.
Would it come before us?
Pardon me?
Would that come before us, the commission, the dais?
It might. I'm not exactly sure of an example that you're dreaming of.
Commissioner, maybe I can help. The scope provides a very detailed list of the services that Mr. Harrison and Mr. Tran have asked RMA to perform. It covers a wide array of services in both CRA districts. There is a provision in the scope that says if RMA is asked to do something in addition to the identified scope, that they would be paid an hourly rate, and that hourly rate is set forth in the scope. Typically, what happens traditionally, and I've now been here, I'm in my 9th year, so I think I can fairly well say this. Typically, when Mr. Harrison or Mr. Tran have to go to any of the consultants and say, would you add this to your scope, it's because it's originated here on the dais, that you've determined that there is something you want to happen in the CRA, and then Mr. Harrison or Mr. Tran carry that out with whatever appropriate consultant it is. So there is definitely an ability for this board or for the executive director to say to RMA or any of our consultants that are under contract, would you please perform the following service? And there's a provision in the contract that provides for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Moss?
Since I was first elected in 2014, I mean, I've sat here and listened to more people speak about conflicts of interests and crooked deals and under-the-table payoffs for RMA, and it upsets me because while we certainly should be concerned about those things, and I understand why you are, Commissioner Fournier, all it has been is appearance of conflict. Nothing has ever been proven that there have been any improprieties, that they've taken kickbacks, that they've done anything wrong. And in the 10 years that I've been here, I've heard dozens of people accuse them of the worst things possible. So, unless and until they have been proven to have done something wrong, it's an appearance of impropriety is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. And if you approach the equation with a skeptical eye, you may see this appearance of impropriety. But in fact, in 10 years, while many people have seen that appearance of impropriety, there's never been any. So I have complete faith in their honesty. And am I not correct, Mr. Harrison? Has there ever been any lawsuits against them? Have they ever been charged by the sheriff's office or anyone else or the inspector general of having done something wrong? No. In 10 years, they've done a lot. So there were many, many, many opportunities for them to have done something illegal if they wanted to, but they haven't. And I mean, I understand you're concerned, and it's well placed, but enough already. I mean, how many times do we have to beat up these people who have done nothing but been above board and honest? So it bothers me that some people still hold that view of them.
Mayor?
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton, then come back to Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. You know, we are also forgetting the fact that that City Manager Harrison is the administrator of this contract and has designated staff on the city side to oversee the execution of this contract. So you would have to have a lot of people. You'd probably have to have all those people over there involved in some sort of conspiracy to commit fraud. And the odds against that are, too great to even mention. So I think we have a great team in RMA, and they have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they are up to the job. They're the best. Look at our beach, and look what, and creating that huge document, that master development deal. You just don't go and find that in a book. That's written and negotiated, and it takes a team of experts to do that. And I think they're worth every penny. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you. I don't believe I accused anyone of anything, Commissioner Moss. I simply said that I think conflicts of interest or the appearance of them, especially in the context of our new downtown, this billion-dollar project that we are undertaking, it's very important that we don't have that, and that we are completely independent. So I think, yes, I think there should be some kind of provision in this contract. I think it should be considered for most of our CRA contracts that we explicitly say that. So yes, where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire, and sometimes there's just smoke. But I just want to make sure that we are protecting the people that we represent and all of our interests here in the city, and not and avoiding conflict of interest up here and with consultants and wherever possible. One other question for you, Mr. Harrison. This contract, did it used to be paid for services and now it's fixed price? It was always a fixed price contract?
I'm not sure about always.
Sorry, I see new ones shaking.
Yes, it's always been a fixed price contract.
Okay, so will we continue to see in our backup the charges for RMA then, that we are paying for the east and the northwest, and it'd be broken down that way?
It's broken down that way.
Okay, and it will continue to be broken down that way in this contract?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your concern, and it's very well placed. And maybe it's because you're new here, but as you say, where there's smoke, there's fire, but there's no smoke. I haven't seen any, and if you're seeing smoke, you might want to visit your ophthalmologist. I've heard people accuse them of doing everything short of child pornography. We've all listened to this for many years, Mr. Mayor, and there's never been anything to it. So you're right to be concerned, but take the advice from somebody who's been up here for 8 years. There's no smoke. There has never been any impropriety at all. And to even have it in the back of your mind that could there be? Sure. I mean, you could be a producer of pornography for all I know. I could be. Mayor could be. But unless and until you've got some evidence of it, I certainly hope you won't accuse anyone of it. And there's never been any evidence that they've done anything wrong. So, you know, you're new here. You're trying to do a good job for your constituents. I laud you for that. But there's no smoke. There's no smoke. And when there's no smoke, there's no fire. Thanks.
Commissioner Fournier.
So it's not my job to take your advice and go off of that. So while I appreciate it, that is not my job. My job is to represent the people of my district and the people of this city more broadly. And I take that very seriously. So while I appreciate the advice, I don't actually think I need that right now. And I said where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire, and sometimes there's just smoke. And I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to start peeling those layers and rehash things. But I have listened over the years, as all of you have, to accusations, assertions, all kinds of things. And it is my job sitting here today to make sure that we avoid all of that going forward in this downtown project. Thank you.
Commissioner Moss.
By assassinating people's character.
Mayor?
I've got Commissioner Fournier first, then I'll have Commissioner Perkins.
Okay.
Sorry, she raised her
I
hand.
have not used a single name of anybody or assassinated anyone's character. I'm talking about a business, RMA. That's what I'm talking about.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, there was a little smoke in 2018 when RMA resigned because of hostile environment, and I still don't know really what that meant and why they actually left. They just left saying that it was a hostile environment. So there was smoke back then, but the smoke cleared, and 9 months later they came in the side door. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Perkins, I have to disagree with you. In 2018, there was no smoke.
Well,
there were allegations of impropriety that were shown to be completely false. And yes, the RMA, the company, has never been found to have any conflicts whatsoever. That has been upheld by various attorney opinions and others. So to claim that there has been smoke, there has been no smoke. And I appreciate everybody using the term smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's not, but there's still smoke. Well, there hasn't been any smoke. I'm sorry. There's been no conflict of interest with the RMA company, nor their principals and the city of Pompano Beach in any way, shape, or form. They have done admirable work for our city. They've done admirable work for our city, but they have not dictated what happens in our city. That is completely up to this board. If anyone wants to lay blame at the fault at the feet of any of our contractors for the decisions that we make, I think is misplaced. Our contractors do, all of our contractors, unless they are found to have fault or some sort of conflict or some kind of shortcoming in their engineering studies or something of that nature, all of our consultants and contractors do an admirable job for us. Perhaps the decisions we make here aren't always agreed with by everyone in the public, and I wouldn't expect they would be. And some folks who are in the public and disagree with those decisions, sometimes they run for office. And that's okay too. But to blame a contractor for a decision made by this board is inappropriate.
Mayor.
And especially to try and indicate there's somehow some sort of cloud over some contractor where none exists and has been shown to not exist, I think is just wrong.
Mayor, I agree with some of
Go ahead, Commissioner Perkins.
I agree with some of what you said. I do feel like RMA do a good job at what they do. It's just that I feel that there are a lot of companies and consulting groups out there that can do the same thing. Now, where I always will have the question mark is, why would you leave in 2018 for hostile environment? Because if that's never explained to me why, we might run into that issue again. That's all I'm saying. I
Mayor?
never got a clear picture of why they left.
Mayor?
And they never said exactly why. So that's why I keep bringing it up, because it could happen again, and then they leave again. So that's just why I kept saying that in 2018, hostile environment. I can look at that as so many different ways, but how do we avoid that happening again?
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Harrison.
Mayor, RMA never left. They never resigned. The only thing different is I'm sitting in this seat now where Kim used to sit. She got caught between a vicious turmoil by a commissioner that was sitting up here and spread through to another commissioner or two and made it a hostile environment.
And what was that?
So
You're not
that
explaining it.
is, pardon me?
What was it that was hostile? You're not explaining that part of it. You're saying two commissioners, which you didn't mention the commissioner's name, and you didn't say what they said to make it feel like it was hostile.
Okay, I will talk to you about it after the meeting and remind you.
Okay, all right. Well, you can say it now. It's fine with me.
Very good. I've got.
I feel like it's enough.
Thank you. I've got Commissioner Moss next, then I've got Commissioner Fournier again.
Well, I was here in 2018, and if you didn't sense a hostile environment, then you were asleep. Part of the hostile environment
I
was
said
you.
explain it. I said explain
Well,
what
I
it was.
can't. 100 different instances, many of them originated by you. You were hostile.
Okay, what was it? What was I hostile about? Yeah, run it down.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could
run it down.
If I could ask us to get focused back on the matter at hand. You know,
Just ask him to explain.
we're all people, and I get it, but it's like let's try and get back to our agenda.
You know, things are always said that another person doesn't like or doesn't whatever, but I think we have a right to respect everybody's opinion and their feelings. And I might not like what you said or what the other person said, but I respect the fact that you could voice your opinion as much as you like. And I can disagree with you, and I'm okay. But I just never got a justification of that. That's all.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Fournier now, I believe.
This whole experience is hostile. I'm just going to leave it at that for all of us.
Okay. Further discussion on the matter. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, as I've said, and every time this has come up or their projects, I am constantly impressed and amazed by the work delivered from RMA and the city and the CRA working together as we have since 2009. And it's always kind of curious to me, the people who moved here, who joined the city of Pompano post 2009, who saw made investments in the city, individuals, businesses, people who came here, and I believe most of them saw the future, saw a gain on their investment here, either in property value or business expansion, et cetera, and joined us. And I think that proof is in the pudding as far as RMA's guidance in changing things. When I look back at the beach I grew up on, there was nothing. There was a parking lot. It was a beautiful sand. We've always had in my opinion, the best beach as far as the sand and the water is concerned. But there was a strip with a video store and an ice cream store. Heidi's was great. I do miss that one. But as it has grown, again, we don't have to have feelings or subjective metrics. As I'm going to go back to the presentation by property appraiser Marty Chiar. We can see in solid numbers the improvement in the investments that we have made under the most accomplished professional guidance of RMA. And we get to enjoy that every day, and people keep, coming to Pompano because of these investments we've made, because of the changes we've made. Otherwise, they would not be coming to Pompano. We wouldn't have the constant issue of people wanting to move here and wanting to be here and wanting to visit here and wanting to go to our restaurants and go to our beach and go to our casino and go to South and see the downtown and Baca and the vault that's about to open. And I fully believe we'll also come to the downtown we create and enjoy our city with us. And so I am thankful every day that RMA chose to work with us, a little beach town that needed guidance, that needed direction, that needed vision. to get moving forward on a plan that had been wanted and thought about and dreamed about for 30 years, but now we get to live in it. And to me, that's amazing. And to me, I've never seen anything foul or, this smoke and fire talk. Never even seen mist. My sunglasses aren't even smudged. It's beautiful work, amazing work, and I look forward to wrapping up some of these other projects and moving forward on some of these projects, and can't wait to see how it all turns out. So thank you.
Very good. I just want to say, I certainly hope, I've expressed my opinion about RMA and the work they've done for the city numerous times in the past, and I stand by that, and I will continue to. And their work here in the city of Pompano Beach has resounded in the redevelopment and development industry. And I certainly hope that what they are doing here results in further business for the firm. And I expect it will. People who are good at their jobs, which RMA and the principals therein are very good at their jobs, and those folks deserve to have additional clients. And if some of those clients happen to be investing in the city of Pompano Beach, and they want to hire RMA for something that is not in conflict with what they're doing for the city of Pompano Beach, I say have at it. Hire away. That's good business practice to hire the best for whatever purposes you need. And that would not, in my mind, be any type of a conflict. And I think you would agree with that, Mr. Harrison. So just wanted to put that out there. Very good. Further commission discussion.
So just to make sure all of you understand, this falls back on me. I'm the contract administrator here.
Mm-hmm.
RMA is part of our team along with all the staff that you see out in the audience. And we are going to manage this in the utmost professional manner that you've ever heard of. All right?
That's the way it's always worked.
Yes, sir.
Great job. Keep it up. Yeah, that's great. All right, very good. Any further commission discussion? Thank goodness. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fournier,
No.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
No.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Yes.
Vice Chair McGee,
Yes.
Chair Harden.
Resoundingly yes.
Yay.
Item 7 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one resident of Pompano Beach to the Northwest District Advisory Committee of the CRA for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 16, 2026, providing an effective date.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and second. I'd like to go and nominate Whitney Rawls, the incumbent. Any further nominations for this item?
Mayor, I just had a question on
Certainly.
this.
Commissioner
So
Fournier.
for this and the next item, it looks like we are appointing residents, residents of the city, so that we have to ensure that they live here. And when I went through some of the applications, it looks like some of them are from 2020. Some are 4 or 5 years old. So I just want to make sure that these people all live here and we get updated information when we're considering things like this. And then for item 9, I can talk to when we get there. It looks like the application is blank. So there's just some issues with the candidates, I think. I'm sure the candidates themselves are fine, but with the applications and understanding whether all of these people are actually still residents 4 years later, and then the one missing application.
Okay. Is that a question? Who can answer that question? Are they residents of Pompano Beach? I can.
Are they what?
Elizabeth.
It's.
All of the, there's all the some of them that filled it out in 2020.
Sure, yeah. I'm just trying to find somebody who can answer the question here.
Hi, Elizabeth Pinto, Department Secretary for the CRA. Because most of these people, well, 3 of them for items 7 and 8, either are currently on or previously were on the board, was in touch with them to make sure their address was still in Pompano Beach. Actually, I'm sorry. I've had contact with all of the applicants to make sure they reside in Pompano Beach.
Okay.
Thank you. And then, I guess, number 9, when we get to that?
We'll get to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner Perkins.
I'm not sure, it says one resident in the city of Pompano Beach, and looking at the application, the address that's listed on the application, that house is in Sanders Park and it has been sold. So I would like to, if we could table this and maybe he could back with us with the correct address.
Sure.
Because.
You're talking the form for Whitney Rawls?
Yes.
Incumbent?
Yeah,
Okay.
the address that he's using on this form is not the correct address. And also, we have quite a few people in the city that want to serve on some of these boards. And listed in his application, he said that he's chair of the Northwest Advisory Committee. He's vice chair of the Pompano Beach Housing Authority. He's chair of Community Development Advisory Committee. He's vice chair of the Charter Review Board, and he also serves on the Economic Development Council. And those are 5 boards in the city, and this is what he typed on his application. And I'm wondering, are there anybody else serves on 5 boards in the city? And I just get a lot of calls of people that want to serve. And he's serving on 5 boards, which I don't have an issue with, but I think it's a little bit unusual. But I would like to table this item so that he can get back with us on his correct address or residency.
Sure, is that a motion?
Yes, it is a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second tabling it because, to make sure that we have all the applications
Very good.
updated.
It's been moved and seconded to table to our next scheduled CRA meeting?
That's fine, yes.
Okay. That's moved and seconded to table to our next scheduled CRA meeting. Just further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, I voted aye, so the ayes have it. Let's do a roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Eaton, Sickerson
No.
Eaton? No. Vice Chair McGee?
No.
Chair Harden?
Okay, well, I'll vote yes. So if motion fails.
Okay, so let me just say this now. So what we're saying right now is that the address that's listed on this application is where he actually lived. That's what we just voted on.
Well, since we didn't have a chance, since it didn't get it tabled, I was actually going to ask the secretary to come back up and address this matter specifically on this application.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's,
Your boss.
can we get some clarification on and this is for the application from Whitney Rawls, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, on the application from Whitney Rawls, apparently Commissioner Perkins is reporting that the address listed has sold. Could it have sold to Whitney Rawls? I don't know.
Well, it's the house directly in front of E. Pat Larkin's wife. I mean, it's one street behind me, so I know what's going on in my district.
Oh,
House is sold.
sold to who?
I want to say here it is here. Alexander Lisma,
Okay, so
Izama.
okay, so it didn't sell to Whitney Rawls.
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying the family sold the house, so he's no longer at this residence.
So you're saying that is the wrong address
Yes,
for Whitney
I'm just
Rawls to be
asking that
listed
the
at on
address
the
be
application? Do you have any knowledge about the address listed by Whitney Rawls on his application?
Currently, no, I would have to get his obviously current address, and I do apologize. When I spoke to him, he did assure me he still lived in Pompano Beach, and that was my mistake.
And he probably does live in Pompano, but not at that particular address.
Okay, so there's just some question
Probably
about.
does.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Moss.
I'd just like to point out that it's entirely possible that the house sold, Whitney was renting it before, and he's still renting it. Just because the owner changed doesn't mean that the occupant has.
No, I've been living in that area.
Perkins, go ahead.
I've been living there for 65 years, and I could tell you everything going on in Sanders Park, believe me.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I just told my age, but yeah, I've been living there that long, and those houses were built in 1953, and that was Whitney's grandmother's house.
Well, I hope you don't know what goes on
And the
inside of those
family sold the house.
Okay.
Yes, I do know that too.
So since the motion to table failed, we're back to the original motion, which I moved approval I nominated Whitney Rawls. Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you for that. But if we could, as we're leaving this item, if we could please get an updated application and distribute that once you get it to the board, that would be great. Thank you. That takes us up to item number 8 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one resident of Pompano Beach to the Northwest District Advisory Committee of the CRA for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 16, 2026, providing an effective date.
Mayor?
Moved.
Chair?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Commissioner Moss?
I'd like to nominate Phyllis Smith.
Phyllis Smith, very good. Incumbent, Commissioner Perkins?
Same person, Phyllis
Same
Smith.
person?
Yes.
Are there any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item number 9 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one architect, landscape architect, planner, design professional, or related industry professional to the Northwest District Advisory Committee of the CRA for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 16, 2026, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. I'll go ahead and nominate Danielle Elzar, but I know that Commissioner Fournier has a question. Commissioner?
Yes, I just, maybe it's just on my iPad, but the backup, the application is blank, so there's no information about her. I assume it's vetted that she fits into this category and lives in Pompano, but
Can we get an answer on that?
Yes, Nguyen Tran, CRA Director. Good afternoon. Yes, she has been vetted. I have seen the application. I have verified that she does live in that district that she says, and she is qualified for architect of this category for this. I'll have to get with Kervin on why it's blank.
okay, can you just share that with us when you have it?
We'll share that as well, yes.
Okay, and she's the only applicant, and she meets the criteria, so I support it. I just want to see the
So
application.
we have to look at why things are coming up like it has happened before.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Commissioner. It's been nominated. Any further nominations? There are none because she's the only person. Any further commission discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you for that. All right, that moves us on to additional audience to be heard. There is none. That reports, Executive Director, Mr. Harrison.
I have no report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. CRA Attorney, Ms. McKenna.
I have no report.
Very good. I like that. Okay, and our next meeting date is September 17th, 2024. So September 17th will be our next CRA meeting at 1 o'clock. Takes us up to CRA Board. Commissioner Fournier.
Yes, real quickly, I just want to announce that my regular monthly community meeting that is normally on the fourth Wednesday of the month is actually going to be on Thursday next week. So it will be July 25th at 7 p.m. at the Legion, not July 24th. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Moss.
No report.
All right. Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, just one thing I wanted to get from Tran. Is there an update on the Crockett Foundation? I know that things were moving very, 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 very slow. Is there an update?
Yes, the update is we did receive a letter requesting the termination of the lease. The space was geared towards grant funding, so he had very limited time to start spending on the grant. So unfortunately, he had to look for another location. So we will be reaching out in search of another tenant for that location.
Okay, so what do you have in mind to do with that?
We'll see. We're going to advertise for it and hopefully keep it in the same lines of what Mr. Crockett proposed, but we're open for anything. It's a nice space. It's a Class A office space.
Yeah, I've been trying to reach him. I understand he's out of town or something, and I've been told that he had no choice but to walk away from the project because of the delays and lack of access getting into the facility and calling people from out of town, and they come and they can't access it, so he had no other way to walk away but walk away. So I'm trying to reach out to him to find out what really happened. Is that basically why he walked away from it? Because I know his heart was really into this project, and it was so sad to know that he walked away, if that is true, because of those reasons. So I'm just awaiting to hear back from him. They said he'll be back in town next Tuesday. So, but that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
So, but to follow up on that, Commissioner, just a question. So the information that you got is that he walked away because of action or inaction on the part of the city or CRA?
CRA, I'm told, because of lack of access to the property and because of so many delays. But I'm waiting to hear from him to confirm that. That's what I was told that was going on with the project, because I know he was really wholeheartedly 100% for it. So I can, like I said, I'll talk to him on Tuesday when he returns.
Okay.
Confirm that's true, what I heard.
Mr. Tran, I would ask you to, if you could reach out to Mr. Crockett also to find out, because with people making allegations like that out in the public, and now that it's been said out in the public like this, I'd like to get to the bottom of it, what's going on.
I can assist with that. I've been trying to oversee the build-out of the Sonata commercial space. They are still waiting to receive a permit so that they can complete the interior build-out to the Crockett Foundation's original specifications. Every time Mr. Crockett has contacted CRA staff to request access, that has been coordinated for him. We also worked with his design team to ensure that what was being requested in the permitting is what they were asking for the build-out. Unfortunately, there has been a delay on Sonata's part in getting the certificate of occupancy so the space could be turned over to the Crockett Foundation. And as Mr. Tran was explaining, Mr. Crockett's use, the Crockett Foundation, they had grant funding that was on a clock. And they needed to be able to use that money in a certain time frame. And we can't force Sonata to move any faster. I do check on their permit status and communicate with them on a regular basis to explain our frustration that they have not completed the build-out in a timely fashion. And we understand the Crockett Foundation's position. They never had to pay any rent for the space, nor has the CRA, because the certificate of occupancy hasn't been issued. And it puts us in the unfortunate circumstance that the Crockett Foundation won't be able to move into that space. But we respect and understand their decision.
Okay, because it sounds like that's not the information that Commissioner Perkins is getting from folks in the community.
Right.
Which that's concerning to me that we now have apparently incorrect information out there, yeah, that's concerning. Okay, well.
I was really looking forward to it because it has to do with our youth, and that is very much needed in the area. We can't have enough projects for our youth, I was excited about it too. But I'll have the for sure information on Tuesday. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and if you can please follow up, and I mean, I appreciate your speaking with Mr. Crockett, but I mean, I want some official something, just because if people are out in the, I'd like to have an official statement of some sort that no, we aren't the cause of this, and I think that's important to have for the record. So yeah, if we can document this somehow so that we can put it in the record that it wasn't the city or the CRA that caused this, because we've got information now going out there that the city was behind, or the CRA was behind this issue with Mr. Crockett not being able to go into that space, and I'd like to correct that if that's not actually the case. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
That's it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Thank you. I just have one thing to say, and I didn't want to say it earlier, but I was at some of those meetings, those hostile environments, and I just have one thing to say. It's all on video. So you can take a look at it, and if you want to see an example of a hostile environment, all you have to do is look in the mirror, Commissioner Perkins. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner, Vice Mayor.
No report.
No report. Thank you. I've got no report. Thank you. Enjoy the break.